So today I wanted to talk about quite a hard topic. I have my cup of tea here to provide me a bit of comfort. So the topic I want to talk about is my experience of being raped. This is quite a hard topic to talk about. So I'm sitting here with myself, and how am I feeling right now? My breath is short, so I'm not taking deep breaths in a normal pace. It's shortened down. My chest is feeling a little bit tight. I'm feeling a little bit anxious because I'm now entering a vulnerable state. Sharing my experience with whoever watches this. And I don't know who you are, but I'm doing it. My intention is to share my experience to allow others to hear my story, but also possibly gain support from it, knowledge. Yeah, it's a good intention. It's awareness as well. I mean, we do know that this happens in the world, but I feel more and more people, the more they talk about their experiences, encourages or helps, I should say, inspires others to share their experiences so we can support each other. I'm not sure of statistics, I won't be going into that, but I'm aware that it's being spoken about more as the generations go on. So I have received therapy, just wanted to say that, around this subject. Before I had the therapy, I couldn't even say the word rape. I had to address the word as the R word because I was triggered by using that word. It was a trigger word for me, and I experienced this trigger often when people were just generally talking about the subject, just generally discussing the subject in social gatherings, or if it's on the news, or some of my friends might talk about it and not knowing that it's happened to me because I haven't told openly everyone. I haven't actually voiced this out to everyone at certain points, and a lot of my friends do know. But yeah, I used to get triggered quite a lot by the word. Not so much now. I do feel I can talk about it a bit more, and that's come in time. That's come in the more I speak about it, the more it becomes not easier, but I accept it more. And the more I accept it, the feelings of talking about it aren't as strong as they were initially. So yes, I'm going to be probably playing with my hair quite a bit again today. I've already noticed that. But it's okay, these are coping mechanisms, and it is okay to do that. It's okay to, like around the neck, this is an anxiety response. I used to do that a lot when I was younger. The neck was my go-to. I used to be even like clawing at my neck at times as a young teenagers, but I still do it now. It's just a it's a safety thing. And this is the throat chakra, obviously. So I'm there trying to almost stop myself from saying stuff, but because I'm going into a vulnerable state, and my ego is now like, oh, you need to protect yourself. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm okay. I like to share my story now. But I just wanted to say it's also okay if you can't share what's happened to you with anyone. It's really important to try if you can, because it really helps lessen the pain from it, lessen the shame if you experience shame. Some people might not, but as I go into it, I'll explain how I was feeling. But it helps to share what's happened with someone else, even if it's just one person, or even writing it down, doing a note to yourself. I found that by not talking about it, it got worse in my mind because I felt shame, and yeah. Anyway, I will now talk about it and explain what happened. So I'll start at the beginning. So I was about 17, 18, and I'd finished college, and I was the person that I was with at the time, he was living with me in Cornwall, and he is from Bristol, and my university that I'd chosen was the UWE in Bristol. So I was set to go off to uni and move to Bristol. And when I moved to Bristol, I moved into university halls, and it's important to be here for myself because I'm feeling anxious now. It's getting heightened, but it's okay. I'm going to continue. So I moved into the university halls, shared accommodation with people that I've never met before, as you do, and at that point I was experiencing high social anxiety and high anxiety myself. So moving into the halls after living with my boyfriend at the time, and in the home with my family, I found that extremely hard to transition into. As when he moved home back to Bristol, he moved back in with his family, so we weren't living together anymore. And our relationship started to deteriorate very fast because of the sudden change in our dynamics of how we were living. Jealousy was something that he experienced, and worries of losing me, and the relationship deteriorated very fast, and it ended probably about a month after I moved up to Bristol. So I was experiencing extreme homesickness within the first month or two of being there, because I'd moved up there feeling like I was going to be in a secure unit, and shortly later my relationship broke down, and I had to make new friends, and navigate my new life, and start my uni course. Hang on. So I was severely depressed, highly anxious, and I turned to alcohol to get me through things, to numb the feelings, and the insecurities, and being away from everything that I knew. And I turned to alcohol. And I remember it was shortly after that I was invited out to one of my I had a friend that moved up to Bristol too that started university at the same time, but she's in a different uni. She was in Bristol University, the actual Bristol one, and it was her birthday. and I remember being invited out to in the city centre to meet up with her for her birthday, and I went with some of my friends that I had recently met, and we then got separated. Me and my friend from Cornwall, who was living in Bristol at the same time, and I was with my new friends, particularly just me and one other girl. Eventually we got separated from our group as we were going around the nightclubs and the bars, and me and her ended up going around to just us two, and we were consuming quite a lot of drink, having a laugh, dancing around, and then we met two guys who at the time I remember they were flashing their cash around, and I think they were wearing suits, and they're being really like boisterous and loud, and I remember they came over to me and my friend and offered us drinks, and I was going to say quite naive at the time. I wasn't really aware of the city life. It happens anywhere, but I was always quite secure down in Cornwall with my close friendship circles. So up there I was oblivious to intentions like I received, but they were buying me and my friend drinks, and I was dancing, and then all of a sudden I remember one of the guys started getting into a fight on the dance floor next to me and started punching another guy. And then they got kicked out and it got taken outside. I followed him out because at that point I'd just been chatting with him and his friend. Me and my friend, we just formed a new group together, and they were buying us drinks and we were having a laugh. So we followed them out into the outside the bar, and by that point I had drunk quite a bit, but I was still aware of my surroundings though, and I felt like I needed to be around this guy, the guy that got beaten up. I needed to be around him. I was like highly attractive to him all of a sudden, and I needed to make sure he was okay, and I needed to stay close to him, and I wanted to follow him around. I think he took us to some more bars after that. And then I remember sitting with him saying that he needed to get back. Oh no, he couldn't go home that night because of his face. He has a child and a girlfriend or a wife, I can't remember as such, but he couldn't go back home because they would be shocked about his appearance because his eye was swelling up. So I just felt like I needed to protect him. And I sat with him and his friend, and my friend were just outside, and he then turned around and said that we should all get a B&B together. We should go and get a B&B, him and his friend, and they'll stay there. Obviously they had a lot of money. So I just remember being really close to him and wanting to be around him, and overly like protective of this person I've only just met, which is not my normal self. Normally I'm quite reserved, and I know I was drinking, but even when I'm drinking I'm not one to be glued to a guy that I've just met. So anyway, I remember getting a taxi, calling a taxi, standing outside waiting for it, and my friend was asking me if we should go and stay with them or I should just go back because I didn't live too far from the centre, and I said I remember saying no, it's fine, we'll go with them. So we were hanging out we got a taxi. I'm just having a flashback. We were in the taxi, just having a laugh. Got outside the taxi, and then we were at this B&B, and the B&B was really small, and it was near, like, I think it was near a supermarket. I can't remember which one, possibly Asda. Anyway, and we got in there, and I remember him talking to the lady and getting us rooms, and they said that they're going to book 2 rooms. And one room was going to be for them 2, and one room was going to be for me and my friend. So I said, okay, that sounds good. And I think our plan was to meet in the morning for breakfast. And then all of a sudden, he turned to me and he said that he wanted to talk to me in his room for a bit before we say goodnight. So I was like, okay. And then my friend went off with his friend into the other room. So we went into this room together and sat down on the bed, and I remember wearing like quite big heels, and I remember leaning down to take my shoes off. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and he started to try and kiss me, and like undress me, and I said to him no, and then the next minute the next thing I remember, it was seconds of him on top of me, ramming himself into me on the bed, and then I blacked out again. And then I woke up again, and it was morning. And when I woke up in the morning, it was horrendous, because he was next to me lying in bed, and I was obviously quite hungover. The bed sheets were halfway down me, and I mean, this might be a bit too much information for some, but there's quite a lot of blood everywhere. I was on my cycle at the time. And there's blood all over the sheets, inside of my leg. It was everywhere. He was lying next to me asleep. So I basically gathered myself together and walked out of the room and went to try and find my friend. I headed to the toilet actually to clean myself up, and my friend was out there in the hall, and she said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said I was really embarrassed and I didn't want to say anything at first. So I just said I was okay, and she goes, we could hear you all night. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, you two in there all night. Sounded like you're having sex like all night. And I was like, what do you mean all night? She's like, for hours. We could hear you next door. And I was like instantly mortified to hear that, because I don't remember anything. So I was in a bit of a dazed state at the time and hungover and not completely sure about what's just happened, but kind of did know what happened. My brain was trying to piece it all together, and I went to the toilet, cleaned myself up, and by the time I did that, he had to come out the room and was acting normal. I was very felt a bit scared and reserved and wanting to go, and what I wanted to do was get in the shower and clean myself down. I felt dirty. I didn't know how to react around him, and he did say to me that he didn't understand how his blood, in the sense of his face blood, got all over the sheets. And I remember looking at him thinking, what? He was laughing it off. I kind of knew that he obviously knew what he did. I don't think we stayed for breakfast. I can't remember. I think I just got out of there. Me and my friend were walking back. He followed with his friend for a little while and then walked off the other way. And then I walked back. My friend walked back past where I was living at the time. I said bye to her. I didn't let on anything. I didn't tell her anything. I didn't want to speak about it. And as soon as I got in, I immediately had a shower and scrubbed myself down. And I just felt dirty and disgusting. And I received a message from him that day asking about meeting up with him again in the evening. And I said to him, "You've basically raped me." And he was just like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I don't think we need to be talking. You've raped me." But I remember thinking that I didn't want to feel like that anymore. Like, I became extremely extremely upset and really depressed, and I turned even more so to drink. I was going out again that night, and yeah, I know, part of me was like, I need to be in, but the other part of me was really depressed already, and I didn't even want to think about what had happened. So I had an invite to go out again, and I went out again that evening with my friends, and I just numbed the pain again. So I didn't tell anyone. I kept it to myself, and I thought to myself about telling the police about it. And I had his number on my phone for a long time after. And I didn't go to the police because I thought there's no point, they're not going to believe me because I'd washed all the evidence away. And I carried a bit of guilt around, got a lot of guilt around with me that, I don't know if he's going to do that to someone else. But I was terrified to say anything to anyone for a long time, because I don't think they were going to believe me, and they were going to think it's my fault because I had drunk quite a bit, and it was my responsibility, which it was. But I had said no to him, and I remember saying no clear as day, and then I didn't recall the evenings apart from those few seconds. So I remember feeling immense shame. I felt disgusted with myself. I felt dirty for ages. I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone, that it was my fault, that I enticed him, that I shouldn't be saying anything to anyone because I deserved it, and it fed into the negative cycles that I believed for so long about myself over most of my life. It just ate away at the cycles, and everything that I thought about myself, it was brought back up through that event, and I was there telling myself that I obviously deserved that in some way, and I shouldn't say anything because that's just the way it is. And that's how I seen it for a while. And I spoke to my mum on the phone, and I told her over the phone, which was the most hardest thing ever, but I had to tell, in the end I had to tell someone, and my mum was the one. And she was devastated, obviously, and me being up in Bristol and her being in Cornwall, I couldn't really see her or get to her. I couldn't go back on the train at that point because I had lessons to go to, and it cost quite a bit, to be honest. I couldn't plan it as fast as I wanted it to be. The next time I came down, I remember coming into the house, breaking down in front of my mum and crying loads, and and I was really ashamed to tell my brother. I said to my mum about telling him because I was just really ashamed of myself, that I thought it was me, and because I let myself drink that much, that, I understand. There's a part of me that just felt so disgusted with my body. It was unreal. I didn't want to be here anymore at that point because I was just so disgusted with myself, and I felt internally gross that happened, and I had no control over anything. Obviously concluded that he used a date rape drug on me because of the way I was feeling and stuff. Was just not it's just not how I normally feel when I go out drinking. It's not how I behave. So I had the support from my mum and my brother. My brother was totally supportive, and then I went to therapy, like I said, and I spoke about it in therapy, and I managed to talk about it more. I told my friends eventually. I gained support from others, and it's only recently that I can actually talk about it without feeling triggered. I didn't know how I was going to be today talking about it on here, but because my intention is just to help others. I'm not tapping into my emotions as such. I'm just trying to say how it happened. I would never have been able to do this literally probably about 4 years ago. I held it for so long inside, and talking about it would trigger me. I just didn't even want to think about it, but now I feel I need to because I want to help other people. But these things do happen, and people have got stigma behind this. That, people that are saying people that have been raped when they've been drinking. There's a lot of people out there that do blame the people. Like, you shouldn't have been drinking that much, putting yourself in that position, what to expect, all these things that you hear. And that's why I never reached out to the police. That's why I never told many people, and that's why I had these negative thoughts, because of some of the soft society believes that it is actually the person's fault that was a drinker. Yeah. But for a long time, like I said, I did believe that, but now I don't believe that, because at the end of the day I said no. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't have chosen to be intimate with someone when I was on my cycle. It's just not who it's just not what I would have done. So even if you've been drinking and you're absolutely hanging out your face and you don't actually have any control of your body, that's one massive thing. That's one massive indicator that no one should go near you or touch you. He's seen me vulnerable. He's seen me. God knows what he did with my drinks, because he was buying me drinks. I was quite naive at the time and trusting. So he should not have. I said no to him. I was not willing to go that far with him. I just thought it was for a chat. So I now know, yes, I am in control of how much I drink, and I'm responsible for myself, But I had been. I sat there and I said no to him, and he took full advantage of me. So it's taking me a long time to realise that I have my responsibilities in that situation, but I did not consent. And even if I was obliterated, totally wasted, you do not take advantage of someone like that. You don't take advantage anyway. But I'm just saying. So it's just like I've come to along my journey. It's taken me a long time, and to get to where I am now, I've given myself a lot of I've listened to myself, and I've listened to those thoughts that I've said. I know, I deserve that. All the negative thoughts that came out of, oh, that's, I can't tell anyone. I can't voice myself because I deserved it. I was drinking. Yeah, I listen to myself, and I go to those parts and I say to myself, I love you. You didn't deserve that. No one deserves that. But I didn't deserve that. And I love the part of me that that feels that they should have had that done to them. I love that part of me. It's taken me quite a few years to get past the negative beliefs of the situation. By sitting with myself, meditating, writing things, journaling down, doing drawings, stick people, analysing my feelings, sitting there going, okay, what am I feeling, what's coming up? Things like, yeah, like I said, I'm not worth it, that, I shouldn't have drunk that much, I shouldn't have moved to Bristol, shouldn't. And then I turn it around and change it to, I said no, he has responsibilities too. I love myself, and where I was at the time. I was at my best. I was only doing the best I could at that time of what I was feeling. And yes, I was experiencing depression and anxiety. So, I'm being kind to myself. And the shame comes from social expectations of you, of people. It's expectations that you're a woman, you should put yourself in that situation. How dare you do that? You shouldn't even be out drinking that much. You should be considerate and kind and caring to yourself, and not get obliterated and off your face. That's not what ladies do. And all the stigma behind what's right and what's wrong. If they did that, that means this. That's where the shame comes from. It's from social expectations of you, of how you should have been or how you should be. Oh yeah, you deserve that. Of course you do. What do you expect when you're out there having a laugh and getting drunk and stuff? The truth is though, no, you don't deserve that. No one deserves that. So I give permission to myself to forgive myself for being in that state, in that time in my life. I forgive myself, and there's nothing really to forgive, to be honest. I'm kind to myself, and I say to myself, it's okay. It's okay that I was drinking loads, And from a spiritual point of view, I've learnt a lot from this. And a lot of people might find it hard to listen to what I'm going to say, but from my personal experience, I've learnt that that person that done that to me, person that raped me, he was reflecting back to me, because I say before in my other videos that people are reflections of you in some shape or form. There's something that someone else is showing you, when external is from your internal. So what you're experiencing in here is being reflected back to you from the external. So looking back now, which I never had the mindset back then, but now I've grown and evolved, and I'm on my ascension journey, in the sense of my spiritual journey, I can see the reflection. He was showing me at that point that I was not respecting myself. When I moved away to uni, and me and my the time break up, I was in severe depression and I wasn't respecting myself at all. I was high anxiety, severe depression, didn't want to be here anymore. It was one of the lowest times of my life. And he was showing me that. Through his actions, he showed me that I was disrespecting my body, disrespecting my mind, disrespecting my being, everything. I was not respecting myself. And he was reflecting back to me by giving me the act of being raped. Now, some people don't agree with what I got to say. That's okay. But this is how I see it for myself. I didn't deserve to be raped. No one deserves to be raped. But from my personal experience, I can see his actions towards me as a reflection of how I didn't respect myself. I didn't respect my body. I didn't care about myself. So I didn't deserve that. However, the experience, I put that experience into it. I look at it as a positive in the sense of turning it around and looking at it as like, okay, well, it was showing me this. It was showing me that I need to honour myself, respect myself. Not, if I respected myself, I might not have put myself in such a vulnerable state out there. So I just look at it in that way, because now I don't do stuff like that. I wouldn't put myself in that state anymore. But I just want to make it clear that no one deserves to be raped. No one. And it's not right. I'm just using my experience as I'm trying to look at the positive out of it, that I've learnt from that experience. I know not to put myself in that experience again, in the sense of being out there, vulnerable, drinking loads, not being careful of my drinks, where I'm putting my drinks, who I'm being with. It taught me a lot, my experience. Now I know other people have experienced rape in different ways, and they might not get the same reflection, and there might not be a reflection to them in any way in that sense. It's for the individual to reflect upon, if they choose to. But it doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you experience rape, because I thought I was a bad person. That's why I thought that's what I deserved, because I wasn't a nice person. That's far from the truth. I love myself so much. At that point I couldn't see it, but you're not a bad person if you've been raped, okay? You've experienced an awful situation, an awful experience that no one deserves. And from my journey, I've just tried to look at the positives from it, to kind of say, look, take care of myself more, be careful. But yeah, therapy I recommend, because it does help to talk about this. Talking to anyone, like I say, writing it out. I know there's many different types of rapes. Some people were severely in it the whole way through, and they remember every single second. Some people like myself don't remember it, but they know they have been. But any form of rape is horrendous to that person that's experienced it. And I'm sending people that have experienced it so much love, and to love yourself so much, because you didn't deserve it, and everyone experiences it differently, but everyone deserves the same amount of love. my story and my experiences is gets to the people that need to hear it. I hope I help someone out there in some way or form. And it's just important to love yourself, okay? That's the number one thing. Love yourself. You are amazing. Serve yourself, send yourself so much love. To the parts of you that feel shame, the parts of you that feel guilty, the parts of you that don't understand, confused, anything that's, that causes you pain. Go into the pain and just send that part of you love. You are amazing. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.